Consider a chi-square distribution with 170 degrees of freedom. We want to find the probability that a randomly chosen chi-square variable is less than 185.3. We want to find the probability that a randomly chosen chi-square variable is greater than 191.2. And we want to find the probability that a randomly chosen chi-square variable is between 164 and 195.1. So for all of these, we need to use our calculator, and we're going to use the p chi-square function. We're going to specify the quantile value, and we're going to specify the degrees of freedom. But depending on whether we're calculating the probability that chi-square is less than a value, greater than a value, or in between two values, that will determine how exactly we go about calculating this. So for this first part, we want the probability that chi-square is less than 185.3. Okay? So if we kind of sketch that out, and you just need a rough sketch here. Now remember, chi-square distribution is not symmetrical, so it's not going to be the same shape on both sides. It kind of looks like this generally. Okay? With the degrees of freedom somewhere over here. In this case, 170. Okay? We want to know the probability that a randomly chosen chi-square value is less than 185.3. So 185.3, let's say it's right here. We just need a really rough picture to know what's going on. And we want the chi-squareds that are less than that. So that's to the left. Okay? This is exactly what this function tells us. It tells us the probability to the left of a value that we plug in. So let's just plug in what we know. We want the chi-square value at 185.3. We want the degrees of freedom to be 170. That's what it tells us right here. And we want the probability to the left, and this function tells us the probability to the left of that quantile value. So this is going to give us the answer we're looking for. And it's 0.800105. There's about an 80% chance that a randomly chosen chi-square value, if we're looking at a chi-square distribution with 170 degrees of freedom, is going to be smaller than 185.3. Okay? Now let's look at the next part here. We want to find the probability that a randomly chosen chi-square value is greater than 191.2. So kind of sketch the same asymmetrical picture. Little bit bigger hump on the left. We don't need it to be perfect, but getting it about right helps. 191.2 is bigger than 170, so I'll put it over here to the right. And we want the probability that chi-square is bigger than 191.2. That means we are interested in the area to the right. That's where the numbers get bigger. Okay? So we're going to, again, use this p chi-square function, which gives us the probability of a chi-square distribution. We want to specify our quantile value, which is 191.2. And we want to specify our degrees of freedom, which is 170. But this isn't going to give us what we want. This is going to give us the area to the left of 191.2. It would give us the probability to the left of 191.2. That's not the area that we want. We want the area to the right of 191.2. So just like how we did for a normal distribution, just like how we did for a t distribution, we're going to start by taking all the area underneath the chi-square distribution, which is 1, or 100%, right? And then we subtract the part that we don't want. And the part that we don't want is everything left of that 191.2. And that's exactly what this calculates. So I take everything under the curve and subtract out what I don't want. And that's going to give me the area to the right of 191.2. And the probability is 0.1269467, about 12.7%. Okay? All right. One probability still to calculate. We want to calculate the probability probability that a randomly chosen chi-square variable is between 164 and 195.1. So if we kind of do a rough sketch of what that might look like. The mean is 170. That's our degrees of freedom. 164 is a little smaller than 170. Let's say one about right there. And 195.1, that's a little bigger than 170. And so we want the area in between those values. That's the probability we're looking for. Okay? So how do we do that? Just like we did with normal distribution, just like we did with the t-distribution, we're going to start by calculating all the area to the left of the larger value. So p chi-square, q equals 195.1 with degrees of freedom equals 170. So this first bit, that gives me all the area to the left of 195.1. Now that's going to be too much, right? I don't want all of that. I only want the bit between 164 and 195.1, not everything to the left of 195.1. So I'm going to subtract out the bit that I don't want. The bit that I don't want is over here. That's the part that I don't want. I only want over here. That's the part I would want. But over here, I don't want that. So I'm going to subtract that out. That's the part that's left of 164. So minus p chi-square. Q equals the smaller value with degrees of freedom equal to 170. And that's how we calculate the probability in between two values. And the probability is 0.5243, 493, about 52%.